Meantime, let's go to 1606. Okay, so let's talk about this one. The X4R receiver was getting very poor range, so you moved it further away from the video transmitter. Now that's not a bad instinct. Some people would say the video transmitter is in 5 gig and the X4R is in 2.4 gig, and those frequency bands are really far apart. So can you really get interference between them? And the answer is yes, is the short answer. When you've got a transmitter right next to a receiver, it actually kind of doesn't matter what frequency band they're in. It's just shouting so loud that it can overwhelm the receiver. That being said, I personally run my antennas pretty close together. You can see there, and I know a lot of people who do that and don't have a problem. So unless you're running like a very high output video transmitter, it might not be the problem that they're too close to your receiver antennas. So you experience some control losses during the maiden, and then you have RSSI, and you notice that it went to 0 during those moments. That's very good, because that tells you that you're having a radio link problem. You always have to wonder when you lose control, is it between the receiver and the flight controller, or is it between the transmitter and the receiver? The fact that the RSSI went to 0 during those moments, and if this is a Taranis, which presumably it is, your Taranis should have said RSSI critical, which is a dead giveaway that you've lost your RSSI. So you're having a radio link issue. So the thing I would be concerned about, the antennas at this point. Are the antennas damaged, or is the receiver damaged? So yeah, it sounds like you might have a flaky receiver, and you don't want to fool around with that. You want to figure out what's going on there. When I fly with my Taranis during FPV, acro, and racing scenarios, I am basically almost always above 60% RSSI, according to my OSD and according to my Taranis. Don't hold me to that. I'm not looking at it very often because I just don't think about it. I never, literally never, get RSSI low messages when I'm flying. Literally never. And the reason for that is that with a 200 milliwatt video transmitter, by the time you get to the end of the video range, you still have plenty of receiver control range, right? So the video transmitter range for the kind of flying that FPV pilots do is almost always going to be the limit. And in fact, like, I've almost started thinking, like, maybe I just don't need to worry about, like, I always try to make these antennas be 45 degrees because that makes the diversity most effective. And I'm starting thinking, who really cares? Like, it's not like I have to maximize the range of my control link. So, yeah, no. Danger DFPV says he returned the X4R for warranty. Okay, great. And presumably the next one worked better. Big Rig FPV points out you cannot replace the XSR antennas easily. No, and that's one more reason. I mean, I didn't actually know that, but that's one more reason why I'm not a fan of the XSR. Now, in case you're not clear, the FrSky XSR is this receiver, which has, they're soldered direct. Well, you can replace those if you know how to solder a little bit. It's not the end of the world to solder those on. It's a little bit of a challenge, but it's doable. But I wouldn't volunteer to do it. The XSR has no pins, and it just has this little header here. I said in my Mixuko build video, which released just yesterday or the day before, maybe even this morning, I don't like the XSR because it doesn't have an A2 voltage sensor, an analog voltage sensor, which I sometimes use. And I haven't got to the crash yet. I haven't even looked at it yet. Just babbling. So bear with me. It doesn't have a voltage sensor. And I don't think it has the analog RSSI out, does it? I don't know if I thought it didn't. Maybe you'll tell me it does. And I prefer the D-pinned X4R. Now, let me show you this. I depend my own X4Rs, but I was looking around the other day, yesterday actually, and Rotor Geek sells the naked X4R-SB D-pinned for $28. Now you go look for a regular X4R-SB anywhere else, and it'll be $26 or $27. So this is what you should buy. Buy the D-pinned naked X4R-SB and use it instead of the XSR, and don't buy a pinned one because you can, I mean, you're probably going to depin it anyway. So that's my suggestion.